Hiya, it's Owlet here, decked out in reindeer ears, and I've got some Cybermen backdrop for you. It's the last Doctor Who review of the year, and it's time for the Christmas special called Last Christmas, which seems quite fitting. So I will stop babbling about decorations and get on with the review. So, Last Christmas. Wow. It felt like a cliche-mas. I don't know if that's even a thing, but I've made it a word now, so it is. It was like, how many tropes can you fit into a finale? And I think he's outdone himself, I really do. There were definitely moments that I liked. I'm definitely not saying, oh, bah humbug, I didn't like the Christmas special at all. But I didn't love the Christmas special, so it's a bit of an indifference, which is not surprising to any of you. It's nothing new. Just because it's the finale or a Christmas special doesn't mean that I'm filled with Christmas cheer. So, the elves start being cynical about the idea that the parents would be the ones delivering presents was actually a really clever way that they could avoid all religious references within the episode and just focus on Father Christmas as some kind of mythological, fantastical figure of like children's imaginations. So that was kind of clever. I give them mad props there. I've got just like scrolling and scrolling so much information of what I wrote while watching this. It's gonna be a long one probably, guys. The Doctor being all serious while wearing a hoodie was kind of weird, but kind of cool. Tangerines are not a thing here in Australia at Christmas. I've never heard of a tangerine being given at Christmas, nor walnuts, so that like joke and reference was lost on me. If any of you do know the history of tangerines and walnuts at Christmas, please share them with me in the comments because I would love to find out about this. But here in Australia, it's like bushfires and shrimp on the barbie, which is so not what we call it. Just so we're clear, we call it prawns, but I know that that's usually the cliche that we have shrimp on the barbie. But we tend to just have prawns, like cold, in a salad or on a plate. We don't tend to cook them that much on the barbecue, so that's also not true. I don't even know why I brought that up. Just trying to give some cultural Christmas insights. We sit outside in the heat and eat cold meat and drink ginger beer and stuff. That's Christmas here in Australia. Woohoo! I love that Clara was kind of falling back in love with the sound of the TARDIS and the Doctor and the adventures, and it was kind of like they had closure on the fact that they both lied, but it also didn't really go anywhere and wasn't really necessary to the plot, and they didn't really focus on it long enough for it to actually be a thing of enjoyment so much as just like, oh, I didn't realize how much I missed that noise. So, you know, that kind of made you realize that she, you know, did enjoy hanging out with the Doctor as the Doctor, and he wasn't just always a cynical old man who was often sexist. So you know, there's something there. I guess their friendship's still strong. I felt like the biggest problem for me with the episode, I'm just gonna get it out in the open, I'm just gonna air it like dirty laundry, but not laundry. My biggest issue with this episode is that it felt like such a monster mashup of things. So the idea that the face huggers, like they even reference the fact that they've got the idea kind of from the movie Aliens, and I liked the Doctor was like, haha, you know, aliens, you have a horror film called Aliens, that's so offensive, no wonder you're always being invaded. That was kind of funny, but for the most part I felt like the episode's jokes were really forced, like everyone was trying too hard to make things funny, and that also there was a like natural flow of dialogue, and then more importantly all of the plots and like tie-in seemed like something that we've done before. So the idea that it was a dream within a dream and Clara had to choose between Danny or the Doctor again was very much like Amy's choice when they're, you know, being put to sleep by the sleep doctor and the dream doctor, sorry, and they have to try and decide who they want to be with and which one's a reality and how you don't want to be in that world without Danny. And I just felt like that, again, just even though it was a dream and you knew it was a dream and it was just what Clara really wanted, it just opens itself up again to just revisiting something that's already been dealt with. Like, we've dealt with Danny's death, we've dealt with Clara's sadness over it. Giving us this taste of happiness again just to take it away, it's just so unnecessary, and I'm just so tired of it because it just really devalues the grief and loss and permanency of anything that happens in the show. And I know it's still just a dream and maybe I shouldn't get hung up on it, but it's almost like a Days of Our Lives soap opera. Oh, don't worry, he's back from the dead. Oh, don't worry, I'll explain this by being, you know, his cousin twice removed or something. Like, it's really stretching it out a bit and it's just so unnecessary. And then the aliens themselves were a bit like the Silence because you couldn't really think about them or see them, and they were a bit like the Weeping Angels because you couldn't look at them, and they were a bit like Prisoner Zero because they weren't quite there, they're in the corner of your eye. Like, I mean, I know they weren't quite that, but there was lots of very similarities, like biologically and psychologically, of these aliens that were happening. And then part of me at first thought, oh, maybe these would be the explanation for the thing that was under the bed. in the episode earlier in the season, but that it didn't go down that path either. In fact, it just kind of didn't go anywhere, which Christmas specials are wont to do, which is why I don't really like them, because they don't tend to tie into anything. But I was happy that it wasn't like a bunch of rehashed old monsters brought back, so it wasn't Cybermen, it wasn't Daleks, but it again just seemed to be like everything else. And then the fact that they were facing their dream face hugger selves was a lot like the Flesh people, because it was them but it wasn't them, and it was trying to work out, you know, oh, when are we really awake? And then by the end of the episode, the amount of times that she could have been asleep but wasn't asleep, but could have been asleep but woke up, and then the doctor woke up again, and then they woke up again. It could have been finite. It could have, but they didn't. It kind of felt like it could just keep going. It was infinite possibilities, and was anyone really ever awake? And I didn't really care if anyone was really awake anymore. And of course they had to have her aged, and then her neatly some of her achievements, like I travelled a lot and I didn't really fall in love with anybody, but there was one person, but it never would have worked out. So they had to bring back the idea that Clara does love the Doctor and that he could have been perfect for her, but he's just so impossible, and she very well might love him more than Danny Pink, or at least as much as Danny Pink. Like, they always need to bring in the possibility that the companion would potentially give away their true love for the Doctor. They did it with Amy, they did it with Rose. It's always like the ultimatum was like, oh, well, I really do love this plain human, but no one could ever pale in comparison to the Doctor. And then the Doctor was also waking up and again, and then seeing her old, and then saying that, oh, you know, you never changed to me, was kind of sweet, but also kind of irrelevant, because then he went back and did it again. And the place that he keeps waking up looked like the place where Clara was burning all the keys in the TARDIS, and that was also one of those things that wasn't really real, that was happening in her head. So it was like drawing on all these references to other things, and I don't know if it was actually intentional or if it was just lazy. But I do have to say that there was a few characters that I did like. I liked Shona. I thought she was good fun. She seemed like the most real and the most human and the least trying too hard, and that was kind of fun. But there was moments where it was just so syruply sweet, and I know you can call me the Grinch, but when the Doctor was grabbing reins of the sleigh and was like, I'm driving the sleigh, or I'm riding a sleigh, and he did it like 3 times, and you know, it's supposed to be like a little child, and you're supposed to get that 11 kind of vibe back again, you know, when 11's like, oh, I've written my Christmas list, and he's all about Christmas. It was just so syruply sweet that I couldn't handle it. I just didn't feel joyous about it. I was like, oh my gosh, my teeth hurt, it's so sweet. It was also a really non-cheery Christmas story, like, you're all dying in your dreams and you have no control of your dreams and you'll never know if you're going to wake up, and the longer you stay in this dream, the longer you are likely to die. And there was, even in those dreams when she was dreaming about Danny, you know, when there was a writing on the wall being like, Clara, you are dying, that thing on the chalkboard was a really, really cool effect. But then when the writing appeared everywhere, I know it's a very common horror story thing to be like, lights change, writing everywhere, doom, doom, doom. But that was also the same as when the TARDIS was possessed or being taken over, and then Roy was trapped in that room and he couldn't get to Amy, and he'd been in there for a really long time, and then Amy's name, or was it Amy's name? I don't know. Something was written all over the walls. It felt so much like that again. So it was just like watching like a remix of all those other episodes. It was like, hi, I am the Doctor and I'm bringing you in this year's Christmas hits of remixes of all my other episodes. I hope you enjoy. Kind of that thing. I don't know what that was, guys. This Christmas, it's gonna be full of surprises. Also, let's just say it's a damn good thing that the wounds in their heads totally heal up when they wake up, and the aliens like really suck at drinking their brains, because they went to sleep and woke up so many times and there wasn't even like a little bit of a cut. Oh, they were just totally fine. And then things were like, and just, no consequences. It's no consequences! Woohoo! Merry consequenceless, guys. It's just, there's nothing, there's no badness. I think what sums up the episode and the season so perfectly is the excuse that the Doctor gave about dreams having gaps and not making sense and it not mattering because no one notices, and the dream kind of protects itself. That's like the perfect summary of this season. It's like there are all these gaps in the writing and none of it really matters because we as the Whovian community protect this integrity of the show because we fill in the gaps. But really it's still a problem, and we're all watching this going, this is like a nightmare, and none of this makes any sense. And how long have I been watching this for? And what time period are we in even? It's just, when do I wake up from this nightmare? When do the good episodes come back? Yeah, that's it. So I went from saying I didn't really mind it to, well, I don't really find a lot that I liked about it. I liked Shona. She was cool. Yeah, Shona was the saving grace. She was the only thing I liked about this episode, I guess, when I looked through it all. I do have to say I agree with her though, that I hate in dreams, I don't know if anyone else has this, but like in dreams when you are hanging out with someone really cool, and they're like, I'll totally give you my email or my number, and they're about to give it to you, and you either wake up or they give it to you on a piece of paper and you're totally not going to remember that number or that information when you wake up because it's not real. That's just so frustrating. Because I find like the psychology and science, I was about to say psychology and Scientology, that's not what I meant to say. The psychology and science behind dreams really, really fascinating. So this episode had potentially a lot of interesting places it could have gone. Like the idea that you can control the dream and you can't control the dream, and the idea of testing to see if the book is real and everything's connected and you just dreams within dreams. Like it's all very, very fascinating. It just was a bit unfortunate that it just didn't really amount to anything. But the Clara is staying. Here we were thinking it's going to be her farewell, and she's back. She's going on an adventure with the Doctor. And we'll see her in The Magician's Apprentice. And you may see me, but I did forget to watch this episode. I didn't even set it to record. So that shows you where my headspace is at with this. So, potentially see you for Doctor Who reviews in the new year, and if not, I possibly am going to start doing review requests. So sit tight and see what happens. Watch this space. I'll see you all in the future. Ooh. Toodles.